controversial TikTok advice from royal brides. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Jamie Wolfer. I'm your online wedding planner, and y'all seem to really be enjoying the TikTok reaction videos, so today we've rounded up 3 that claim to be very controversial. But you know what? I'll be the judge of that. Now, what gives me the right to say these things? Well, first of all, I'm a wedding planner. So I'd like to think that I know what's controversial or not, and I've been doing this for 9 years now. So I also help couples plan their weddings on a budget in something called the master plan. So if you want to go check that out, it is $29 a month. This is literally me, a professional wedding planner, helping you plan your wedding. So highly recommend that you go over there, especially if you're feeling stressed out or your only source of wedding information is via other brides or other couples on TikTok sharing their thoughts. It's like taking automobile advice from the internet. Sometimes it's great, but sometimes it's just better if you go to a mechanic and figure out what the clanking noise is. That's not a great analogy, but we're gonna roll with it. So without further ado, let's just jump right on into it. All right, it says untraditional things I am doing for my wedding as a not quite millennial, not quite Gen Z bride. Let's go.
Some untraditional things that I'm planning to do for my wedding in 3 months. First one that people are having a really hard time digesting, it sounds like, is we're both doing a first look and private vow. I think the biggest problem with this for people is that that special intimate moment of saying our vows is now not going to be shared with them, but why should it? I think it's going to sound so much more real and genuine if I'm not worried about my aunt on my dad's side dissecting whatever it is that I'm saying. Very about us. It's going to just be for us. Also, my fiance was so nervous when he proposed to me that he barely got any words out. So I really can't even imagine him having to say a whole declaration of love in front of 50 plus people. And the first look, I think people are having a hard time with it being you don't have that moment at the end of the aisle that we all see in movies and whatever. But again, I feel like I'm going to be a hot mess and I'm going to be crying. So I'd rather do it in private. Let me know if you want to see more.
I feel like people are using the terms non-traditional and controversial very liberally, which, don't get me wrong, it gets clicks, which is why I used it in the title of this video. You just got rickrolled. That cultural reference does not work here, but we're keeping it in the video. I think the terms that we should be using here instead are popular versus unpopular. I would say it's unpopular to do private vows, meaning that most people tend to do vows in front of their guests. I wouldn't necessarily, and yes, that would, in my personal opinion, would fall under untraditional as well. However, I think it's a great idea. But also, how are so many people finding out about this 3 months before your wedding? Hey, FYI, you won't be seeing vows. Maybe just don't tell them. And just be oh, what vows? Oh, no, we just decided to do them privately. If anyone approaches you about it later, but we don't need to be broadcasting this. I mean, you could make TikToks about it, sure, but maybe keep it away from your aunt on his side or whatever that might be a little bit more judgmental about it. We could start there. If you're in a situation where you are we want to do private vows, but we also don't want to be called out on not doing vows, you could always do scripted vows for your actual ceremony and do your private vows just on your own. But then again, most people are not going to care. Now, of course, I don't know your family. I don't know your life. I don't know your business. So you might get a handful of people that come up to you afterwards. But in my opinion, just don't broadcast it. And it'll be far less of a problem than if you start telling everybody ahead of time. Now, the first look thing, to say that it's not traditional to do a first look, it is very popular to do a first look. In fact, we saw a radical shift over the last 10, 15 years where so many people are gravitating towards doing a first look. I have a whole video about it on this channel. If you're on the fence of what you want to do, whether you want to do one or not, I'm going to link it right here. But famously, I tell this story every single time because it's my favorite wedding. It's mine. My husband is gloriously hilarious. He's also very awkward on camera. So I wanted to have a first look. 1, because I wanted more photographic opportunities. 2, I wanted that private moment for just the 2 of us. But he still had nerves when it came to the first look. Yes, it was just us, but also us and 2 photographers and 2 videographers. So it wasn't just a private moment. So when he drops me off and walks around to the other end of the venue to get the ceremony started, I walk down the aisle, he starts bawling. So having a first look did not change whether or not the walk down the aisle was emotional for both of us. I just say that to say, don't get all freaked out about the emotions surrounding the first look, non-first look, etc. You could be emotional for both or emotional for neither, okay? You know yourself and your fiance best, so take it all with a grain of salt. But I wouldn't say that that's not traditional, because it's very popular.
Non-traditional things that I will or will not be doing at my wedding. I get married in 2 weeks from today, and I seriously cannot wait. I do not think you guys understand. So let's get started. Number 1, I will be doing my own hair and makeup. I just want to look like me, and I trust myself more than anybody else.
Fantastic. This is great. I actually love this for you. If you don't feel like getting your hair and makeup done, don't do it. I had a bride who chose to do no makeup at all, and I was like, go for it, fam, because that is what made her feel the most like herself. I think that's fantastic. There is, of course, an argument for getting your hair and makeup professionally done because a lot of times you're going to be sweaty. It's going to be a long day. Most of the time on your average day-to-day, you don't need your makeup to last 10, 12 hours, right? You only need to last long enough to get you through the day till you get home and put on your soft pants and take all of your makeup off. So all to say, yes, if you want to, you totally can. However, there is still a very valid reason to hiring hair and makeup artists.
Number 2. Me and my family will be doing all of the setup.
Oh.
We know how we want it to look, so we would just rather do it to make sure it all goes right.
I love this. Like, I wanted to do the setup on my wedding day until, like, wiser minds came alongside me and was like, you should not do that. You're already gonna have like butterflies in your stomach the entire morning. I chose to get my hair and makeup professionally done. It was actually by one of my bridesmaids, but still, like, that requires a lot of time. And with all of the excitement and energy being really high, I don't know how prudent it would have been to go do that setup day of. If you have access to your venue ahead of time, go for it. And I'm not gonna lie, I definitely walked through my ceremony space and reception space before the wedding even started because I want to make sure it was done correctly. But I don't recommend couples doing setup the day of the event themselves. Now, I totally get where she's coming from. I was the same exact type of bride. I understand. But anything that we can do to get that off your plate on your wedding morning would be super ideal.
Number 3. We will not be starting the ceremony until 6 o'clock.
Oh.
So it's nice and cool and doesn't drag on all day. People can make it from work. Just much more casual.
Here's the deal. If you start your ceremony at 6, usually we take about 30 minutes for a ceremony. We take about an hour-ish for cocktail hour. That means you're not sitting down for dinner until 7:30-ish, which in my family is actually really normal. We're really, really late eaters, but we get made fun of about that all the time. Some people might be super hungry by the time you've reached that point. So it's not unheard of. It's not completely illogical. It's a little bit more of a non-traditional starting time. So I do agree with the terminology here, but it's not anything that's like sort of super drastic. And when you're in a really hot climate, I do recommend starting later, but those of us that are in really, really, really hot climates know that there's some times of year that it doesn't matter what time you start. Nothing can save it. Nothing can save you from the heat.
I think this is number 4. No bridesmaids, no groomsmen. Of course, I have my sisters and my soon-to-be sister-in-law, and he has his brother and soon-to-be brother-in-law, but they're not walking down the aisle, nothing like that.
So we're just stating family members. Of course, I have family members, but they're not walking down the aisle. Sorry, you're so cute. I'm sorry. That one got me.
We're also not doing like a flower girl or a like ring bearer or anything.
Cool.
It'll just be me and my dad walking down the aisle, and me and Taylor will get married.
I would say we're probably at like a 75-25 split. If I was just to pull like rough numbers out of nowhere, I would think that most couples do have a wedding party and most couples do have that wedding party walk with them, but we do see a pretty prominent presence of those that are like, no thanks, I don't want to do it, or like we just don't want people standing with us, or we don't want them to have to go through the cost of this. So I would say it's definitely more popular to have a wedding party for sure, but it's not uncommon or unheard of to go without.
Number 5, maybe? We're not reading our vows.
Again.
We're going to write them in a book and then switch right before the ceremony so we can read them privately.
Cute. Again, we're seeing private vows. I'm totally for this. I think it's totally fine. It is not traditional. I would say it's rather unpopular. So again, the phrasing here totally works. Yeah, absolutely. But I'm not against this. And I'm not going to repeat all the same points from the previous video, but I do think that like you're well within your rights to do this. It's fine.
I lost track of the numbers. But we will not be doing like a sit-down dinner. No assigned seating, no fancy food, just straight up barbecue that is served all night and you can sit or lounge wherever you want.
I thought she was going to say that they weren't serving any food, and I was like, is this the Mickey and Minnie situation all over again? I honestly wish more couples would do this. I think this is if they're getting it from a restaurant or whatever, this is called drop catering. This is such an affordable way of feeding. I don't know, such an affordable way of feeding people that I wish more people jumped on the bandwagon for it. I do feel like barbecue is a little risky because I just associate with like barbecue sauce and ribs. There are very few restaurants that I feel like you need a bib at, and barbecue might be one of them. So just something to keep in mind. But I live in Central Texas. I love a good barbecue. This is great.
We will be having one guy playing the guitar and singing all night, doing all of our favorite songs.
That's exhausting for that guy. I mean, like, go for it. That's great. But that also means that he's probably going to take breaks in his set. So I would still have some sort of playlist ready to go for when he's like, I need water. I've been singing for 4 hours. You know, it's a lot on someone's vocal cords. And if he signed up to do it, like, more power to him. Maybe he does this all the time. But coming from a subpar singer who sang a lot in life, in choir and various other places, 4 hours is a long time to be singing. So just have a backup plan with some sort of Spotify playlist. In fact, if you are looking for some that are written by a DJ, I'm going to link it right here. It's our free music guide. Our dear friend DJ Griff put it together for you. It's actually playlists that he uses at his wedding. This man is in super high demand. I can't believe he just like offered us his playlist for free. So if you want him there, you probably missed the card, so it's down below.
We are not doing cake or cake cutting. Neither of us like cake, so I just find it kind of pointless.
As a proud member of the anti-cake gang, been saying this for years, not a lot of people like cake. Do whatever you want. Dessert tables are the biggest crowd pleasers. I will die on this hill.
Me and Taylor will do a little first dance, but we're not doing first dances with parents. Me, the bride, will actually eat the food. I am determined that I get to sit down and eat. There will also be no line.
I was like, no line? No line for what? For the food? Well, there's probably, how can you determine that? I think she means no receiving line. So here's what we're talking about when it comes to, if you've been around this channel for a minute, or if you've been one of my clients, or you want to be one of my clients, I will always run up to a couple during dinner time, look them dead in the eyes and be like, this is your only time to eat. If people come up and start talking to you, great. Keep as respectfully as much as you can getting food into your mouth, okay? Because you have a long night ahead of you and I want you to have as many good calories in you as possible. Also, you paid a lot for this food. So I love when a couple goes into their wedding day determined to eat the food.
We will only be serving me and Taylor's favorite drinks.
Oh.
Red Bull and Diet Coke. Plus water, of course.
Girl, you had me on so many things. I was like, here for you on so many of these ideas. This one is not good. It's not good. First of all, Red Bull's very expensive. Second of all, you're going to have the most cracked out wedding guests. Just like, this is all we got. And third of all, those are such hyper-specific drinks. Like, I don't like diet sodas, but I also don't want my only other option to be Red Bull. And also, like, I guess I could drink water. That's totally fine. But, like, that's all I have. I'm getting really worked up about this. Might I suggest, respectfully, adding, like, another 2-3 drink options in there? You can have them in cans. It could be Sprite. It could be, you could get individual servings of lemonade. Just something, or get like a giant dispenser and throw some country thyme powder in there, stir it up, so at least you have 2 different options when it comes to like beverages. In fact, what we usually recommend in a scenario like this is having iced tea, water, and lemonade in giant dispensers. Can be like 2 gallons or whatever, or 1 gallon if you want to have someone refilling it frequently. And get powdered drinks. Do I typically love powdered drinks? No, absolutely not. In this capacity, they're genius, because the second everything gets low, someone can get a jug of water from under the drink table, drop in the powder that you need, shake it up real quick, and then pour it into the dispenser. I've been doing this for a long time, folks. If you want more tips like that, you should probably subscribe, because I'm full of these bad boys, okay? So it's not financially intrusive to add more options if you go with the powder drinks. Are they going to be the most palatable things on the planet? No, but they're going to get the job done. And it's not Red Bull for children. Assuming you're having children at weddings, which is another controversial topic. Let me know if you're planning a wedding. Are you having kids at your wedding or not? I'm not trying to start fights in the comments. I'm just curious.
There is no dress code, no color code. We just want everybody to come in what they feel most comfortable in so they have a good time. If they want to come straight from work in their jeans, awesome. I just want everybody to enjoy it.
This is great. I love this. I wouldn't advertise it heavily. Be like, wear whatever you want. Because there will be someone that's like, bet, showing up in a bathrobe. I'm comfortable. This is my most comfortable form, right? And my soft pants. That's how I'm showing up to your wedding. So yes, I think what this means more for her and them as a couple internally is we are not going to be offended if anyone shows up in jeans, right? We've made this in such a way. My guess is they're having it on a weekday because she keeps talking about people showing up from work and like what they'll be wearing, etc. and time of day that they're starting the ceremony. So I would think that this is just more like of an internal decision. I would not broadcast this. You like how I rolled my R a little bit? Broadcast this. If people ask, just say, yeah, we're just going for casual attire, so whatever you feel good in. Those people probably aren't going to be the people that show up in a bathrobe. But if you broadly broadcast this, great. Then you're inviting some more creative outfits. You're inviting people to potentially challenge that. Just saying.
For our send-off, we are doing a fog machine, flashing lights, and Nike sets.
Perfect.
We're giving everybody speeders, and it's going to be freaking incredible. Me and my sisters came up with that, and I feel like it's going to be totally unique. I can't wait.
Yeah, I love a fog machine for a grand exit. In fact, I recently did a grand exit video if you want to check it out. Some of my favorites and some of them that absolutely are the worst and I don't recommend doing. And some of the worst ones are actually really popular. So you should, if you're planning on it and considering it sometime, you should go watch that. But yeah, this is super cute.
Okay, and last thing, we are going through the temple the weekend after.
Oh.
We personally just want it to have its own separate day and special moment so it can get all the focus. That is between me and him, and we can't wait for that special moment.
Cute.
There are a few other things, but nothing that I can tell you guys yet. So I know a lot of those are just personal choices, kind of might be controversial, but those are the untraditional things that I'm doing at my wedding.
Yeah, we got a mix of untraditional and unpopular. But if you don't change that drink menu, you might have some really unhappy guests. You're cute, though. I'm sure your wedding's already passed, so it'd be cool to see more of your content, because I want to know what happened.
I'm a July 2025 bride, and these are a few controversial things that I'm doing in my
There's that word again.
Starting off somewhat strong, I'm having all of my bridesmaids wear matching dresses.
So it's controversial because it's traditional. I know we're doing it for the clicks. I know we are. Okay. Sorry.
The mismatched dress trend is super popular right now, and I totally get all the reasoning. I just personally love a clean, streamlined look.
That's great. That's fantastic. That's a traditional choice. I wouldn't call it controversial. I think that it may be even like a 50-50 split of those who are having matching versus non-matching. So this is neither controversial nor untraditional, but we're starting off strong, she says.
I am having both my parents walk me down the aisle.
Cute.
Both my parents equally raised me. I love and respect them both so much. I really think of it as my family and my fiance's family merging together.
Again, that's not controversial. Like, are people approaching you being like, how dare you? How dare you have both of your parents walk you down? It's not controversial. It's just not traditional. That's okay. And not traditional really just means like not popular. I think there's something that actually ends up feeling really traditional about having both your parents. It's more of like a traditional mindset, right? Now we're just getting into the nuances of words, which is annoying, but I don't think that's if that's controversy, then I missed like something major on TikTok.
We are getting married in the Catholic Church and doing the full mass ceremony, the whole sacrament of holy matrimony. I understand a lot of guests don't want to sit for an hour-long ceremony, but at the end of the day, it's our wedding and we want to get married under God and do the full sacrament, and that's what a wedding's for. The celebration will come after.
So we're just stating things that are controversial, but you're just sticking with traditional things. Is that right? That's not controversial.
We will be having a cake and we will be having designated time to do a cake cutting. People these days seem to be so against cake, and I totally get how expensive it can be, but there are so many hacks to make it inexpensive and still have that tradition brought into it. Love a beautiful wedding cake, so I'm having it.
This is not controversial. I mean, obviously you heard what I said about cake a few moments ago, and the only reason I talk about it with like any sort of frequency is because I want people to know that they don't have to, and it is expensive. And yes, and where there are hacks to make it more affordable, but a lot of people just don't eat it. So I just want to make sure you spend your money wisely. But this is not, it's not my take of skipping cake is the controversial one. That's the one that gets me the most comments when I'm like, don't do a cake. Not because it's expensive, it's because it's expensive and no one eats it. And I've seen literal layers of cake thrown into the trash because there's no way to take those leftovers home. There's no box to send them home in. There's no tin foil. I mean, a lot of these places are just like shell venues, so they don't have supplies like that on hand. And it's not like something I run around with as a wedding planner, like, oh, don't worry about the tin foil for the cake. No, I have seen an entire piece of cake, like entire layer of cake, this big around, thrown in the trash. So I have the controversial opinion here, not you. You should not do cake. But I'm glad that you like cake, and I'm glad that you're doing it. But that does not make it controversial.
Fiance and I will be addressing our guests at our reception, and we are going to do a speech between the two of us. For one, we both love public speaking. We thought doing a
That's controversial.
speech between the two of us would be super personal and give us a way to connect with all of our family and friends.
None of it's controversial. Not popular, sure. I always offer this to all of my clients. I'm like, hey, do you want to give a toast? Do you want to give any sort of like thank you moment? It's actually a really good segue if you want to the dance floor. And what we end up doing is we're like, hey, you guys will be the last to give your thank you note, like thank you speech or whatever. And then you turn to your now spouse and be like, and now will you join me on the dance floor? Or the DJ can say it, you don't have to. But it's just like, we're already standing up, and then you just flow seamlessly on out to the dance floor. So this happens like a lot. Like maybe 40% of the weddings we work. So I don't know, that's slightly less popular.
Will not be doing a dress change. I love my wedding gown so much. I personally want to wear it all night to get the dancing aspect, but I think I'll still be able to drop it low, so it'll be fine.
So controversial. How much is left in this video?
Lastly, this one may be the most controversial. We are not going to have the plus ones of our bridal party sit with us at the king's table or whatever it's called. Been to weddings done with it both ways, and I think they're both great, but we just feel that we want just our bridal party sitting with us during the reception dinner, and all the plus ones of the bridal party will have their own table. Plus dinner is going to be like, what, 45 minutes? Then everyone will be up and dancing the whole night. Those are just a few of our controversial takes for our 2025 wedding. I also have so many more of those, so if you want to hear more, just let me know. I'll talk to you guys later.
Can I just say you're adorable? And I don't mean that in like a pat on the head. Like you're so cute. And I know you're excited to talk about your wedding, but I never recommend having plus one sit at the table. Ever. At the head table, I mean. Because one, you kind of want like that clean look. Obviously, if you like the matching outfits, it makes sense to me that you don't want plus ones at the table. Two, that's a huge head table. Huge, huge, huge. In fact, we've had it so the couples be so committed to having plus ones with their partners, like at the head table, that it wraps around to the front and then feels really weird. I never recommend putting plus ones at the head table. Just like as a general rule, because it ends up being so big. It's a lot easier to streamline it. Of course, I'll accommodate any couple that wants to do it that way. It's just never the recommendation I lead with. So, Lauren, you're so cute. And I love that you're excited about your event. And I love that you have opinions on what you want to do, but none of this is controversial. So I think we're just using the word to garner some attention, which makes a lot of sense because I used it here. So I'm not hating on you. Don't hate the player, hate the game, right? Like we're playing the social media game. That's what we have for today's video, folks. I feel like I need a nap after all this controversy. If you haven't done so already, jump on down there, like this video if you like the video, and subscribe to this channel for more tips and tricks for the modern day bride and some occasional, well, becoming slightly more frequent TikTok reactions. Some of the advice out there is great. Some of it is very controversial. And until next week, bye guys.